All right, are you living next door to one of America's most radical mosques? The Clarion Project, a group dedicated to exposing the dangers of Islamist extremism, has at least 83 of them across the United States on their list. These are mosques whose leading clerics have been accused of supporting global terrorism in some way. And this is happening here in America. Joining us right now is the national security analyst for the Clarion Project, Ryan Morrow. Ryan, first off, how did you go about identifying them?
Well, a lot of this information is publicly available. It can come from things that the Justice Department has said, or just even going on the YouTube channel of some of these mosques and seeing what they're preaching.
All right, you have some examples, one of which takes place in Virginia. This one mosque is a place where two of the 9/11 hijackers were at one point. What has happened to them since 9/11?
Well, it's the Dar al-Hijra Mosque, which has a long history of extremist clerics, including Anwar al-Awlaki, the al-Qaeda operative, was one of the imams there. And there's actually videotape of their imam a couple years ago saying that Muslims should never be first in line to take anything except for weapons for jihad.
Wow. So that happens. You find that out from other Muslims, correct?
Very often, yes. We get a lot of email from Muslims in the United States and around the world that are concerned about this.
All right. Majid al-Taqwa is in New York. What about this guy?
Well, it is led by Siraj Wahaj, who's a bit of a rock star. He goes around the country speaking on college campuses and at mosques, and he's on record, you can get audio of it, him saying that America should be turned into a caliphate. The NYPD has had surveillance on his mosque because of its links to terrorism. So very extreme guy, but he's still very popular.
And he wants Sharia law, and that's something in the U.S. People go to this mosque, they come out. That's sometimes the Clarion Project will get an email after that to say, listen, you got to keep an eye on this?
Yes, very often that's how it'll happen. Now, sometimes there's attendees that go to these mosques that aren't exposed to the extremism. So not everyone that attends a mosque is necessarily extremist. And in fact, a lot of the time, that's how you find out this information.
And what would be a great advantage to us, you say, if we just said the Muslim Brotherhood's a terrorist organization? Yes. Well, I don't understand. The Islamic Society over in Boston.
Right, and this is a mosque that's gotten a lot of attention because of the Boston bombings, and one of the spiritual leaders of the Muslim Brotherhood, a guy who says that Israelis should be suicide bombed, was on their board years ago. And I know a Muslim that came out of Egypt to the United States to escape radicalism, went to that mosque, never went back, because he said, this isn't what I came to America for.
Yeah, they also talk about this group, the North American Trust, an organization that funds many mosques across the country.
Right, and according to the Justice Department, that's part of the Muslim Brotherhood apparatus in the United States, and they have mosques in over 40 states, according to their website.
So let's take a look at the country right now. We have little dashes over the places Clarion Project and others have said are places where radical mosques flourish. So when Donald Trump comes out and says we got to start closing down some of these mosques, is that even possible?
Well, you have to have a legal basis to do it. If it's owned by a terrorist organization, then yes, you can close it. But if they're just using their free speech to advocate extremism, you can't shut it down for that. One of the problems that we have is that the Muslim Brotherhood is not listed as a terrorist organization, and Senator Cruz has introduced legislation to pressure the administration to change that finally, because the Muslim Brotherhood and Hamas are the same exact thing. And so we hope that viewers will talk to their congressmen and get position statements from their congressmen, send it to us so we can update our readers, so we can know where congressmen stand on this issue.
The Muslim Brotherhood, in many cases, are the places where all these terrorist organizations sprouted out from. So they're the foundation, depending on how you look at it. Absolutely. Ryan Morrow, thanks so much for the Clarion Project. All right, so Donald Trump, in this case, had a point and a reason for concern. Meanwhile,